Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Assalamu alaikum, hotep, wagwan. How are you all doing in and around the world? My name, as you have been told by Al, is Alim Kamara. Al, how are you feeling this morning?
Doing really good.
It's your birthday, man. It's your birthday. You should be like, I'm excited. So, for those of you who have just joined us, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Alim Kamara, the storyteller. And today, well, actually, you see, as well as being a storyteller, something Al hasn't told you, which is that I am a treasure hunter, which means I travel around looking for treasures that I can share with the world, that I can share with beautiful people just like yourselves. So here's how this works. When I say story, story, you say story. Story, story.
Story.
No, I need more voices. I need more voices. No, I need more voices. I need more. What is this? What is this? Ah, how many people have we got in there? 103. When I say story, so Francis, if you don't unmute, you will fight. When I say story, story, you say story. Story, story. Story. Hey, now we are talking. So, this is why this happens. When I was a child, we would be playing. We would just be playing. I'll come in, yes, sir. Go tell mama, say, yes, sir. That's super cook, yes, sir. Man left me here, yes, sir. Can I do, yes, sir. I catch a naka, yes, sir. I catch a. What I'm saying there is, I'll come in, which means I'm coming. So if we're about to play tag, this is hide and seek, yeah? This is 8. So this is how you wouldn't be counting 1 to 10. You'll be singing this song. I'll come in, I'm coming. Go and tell your mother. Go tell your mama, say, that soup we cook, that soup that she cooked, May left me on. Make sure she leaves mine. Keleju, I catch him. In other words, I'm going to catch you. So, I am going to catch you now with my stories. When I say story, story, you say story. Story, story.
Story.
So, the storyteller arrives and says story, story, and you reply story. The option is, do you want a story or do you want a story? A long time ago, there was a woman. And this woman, oh my goodness me, anytime she went to bed, she would have nightmares. Hey, do you want to know what the nightmare is? Huh? Do you want to know what the nightmare is? Sam, do you want to know? You want to know what the nightmare is, Sam? Huh? And the nightmare would be that a monster was chasing her. She will go to sleep and she will hear the monster. And she'll be like, hey, this monster. And she'll be running, trying to get away from the monster. Well, this kept on happening for ages. And then she went to see a specialist. And she went and she told the specialist, look, you need to give me some sort of medicine, some sort of potion, something, because what I'm going through right now, I need it to just end. I need it to stop. And obviously the specialist said, what's the problem? I keep on dreaming that a monster is chasing me. And the specialist stroked his beard. And then he said, have you ever turned around and faced the monster? Face the monster? For what? I want you to disappear. Turn around and face the monster. Face your fear and it will disappear. I said, look, I came here for potion. I came here for medicine. And you're telling me, hey, face your fear and it will disappear. No. And she left. Well, when she got home that night, she had that dream again, that the monster was chasing her. This monster is going to kill me. And she would run. And for the next few nights, she would have that recurring dream. Well, this particular night, she sat down and there was a voice in her head. And this voice said, have you ever turned around and faced the monster? Have you ever turned around and faced the monster? Creative Mornings. Have you ever turned around and faced the monster when she went to bed? Oh, tonight, it's like the monster heard her, because this night the monster was bigger than ever. Now, mind you, she's never seen the monster. She just knows that the monster is there. Well, she could feel its acid breath on her neck dripping, and she was running. The monster is coming, and she was running and running and running to the point where she got to the wall, and she heard the voice. Have you ever turned around and faced the monster? Well, she turned around, looked at him, you're ugly. And then she went, what do you want? Why are you always chasing me? And the monster stopped, stood up, and said, how should I know? It's your dream. And the monster turned around, walked away, and disappeared. When I say story, you say story. Story.
Story.
Do you want some more? You want more? You want more? Okay. Yeah, we're warmed up now. When I say story, you say
Story.
Well, a long time ago, there was a traveler. And this traveler was going along when he came to a village, went inside, sat down, and ordered some jollof rice and some sawa. Hey! You know what is sawa? See, I come from Sierra Leone. Do you know what is sawa? Hey, Al, you don't know what is sawa? It's sorrel. Hey, you know sorrel?
Yeah.
You know, the drink from the plant, you make it sweet. He drank it. He was eating the jollof, and then he drank his sawa. It was delicious. Well, across the way, there happened to be 4 young men who were watching this traveler, and they were envying this traveler. You see, this traveler had the blingy bling. For those of you who don't know what the blingy bling is, this traveler was looking fly, dressed in fine African attire. This traveler had on we'll call it, because it was ages ago, we'll call it Harmani watch. Yeah. This traveler was looking cool, man. And these young men, they were like, no. We need to find a way to get all of those items from him. Yes, we do. So they came up with a plan, and they went up to him and they said, sir, how are you? And he said, I'm fine, eating his jollof rice. And he said, how would you like to join us in a competition? He said, what's the competition? He said, you see, we are all going to tell a story. He said, yes. And he said, the story that we tell, it must not be denied. The story is true. You cannot say that the story is a lie. And the man said, hey, that's it. And what happens? He says, whoever wins, well, they will be the owner of everybody else here. Now everybody in the shop stopped. Hey! Everybody wanted to witness this storytelling session that was about to take place. And the man agreed. He finished his jollof rice. He finished his sawa. And then he said, let us begin. Storyteller come. Storyteller come. Storyteller come. Storyteller come. Storyteller come. The first storyteller stepped up and said, story. Said, me, when I was not even born yet, I heard my mother asking my father for plum. And he said, the plum tree is too tall. No, me, I can't do it. No, I can't do it. And then I heard my mother ask my brother and my sister the same question. And of course, they started moaning and whining, I can't be bothered. That's long, man. Well, me, obviously, I was not born yet, but I was still very upset. When my mother was sleeping, I came out, I went and got the plum, and I brought the plum to her, and I put it next to her. When she woke up in the morning, she was so happy to see the plums, but nobody knew where they came from. They looked at the storyteller, the traveler. There was no doubt on his face. Well, it was now time for storyteller number 2. Storyteller, come. Storyteller, come. Storyteller, come. Storyteller, come. And the second storyteller stepped up. Now, here's what happened to me once. When I was about a week old. Yes, a week. I went into the forest and I climbed a mango tree. Yes, and I started eating the mango. Now, at this stage, I must point out that some of you get me upset. And the reason why, this is very serious. Okay. There are people watching right now, and they have the audacity to eat mango with a knife and fork. Who does that? Who does that? Do you know what I mean? You don't eat mango with knife and fork. No. You eat it with your hands, And you just, And also, I must point out, Julia, are you hearing me, Julia? Yeah, Julia, I must point out, this is what gets me even more upset. You see, when the mango juice runs down their hand, there are people that wipe it. No, you don't do that. What you do, let me demonstrate. You see the juices, you just go. Don't waste the mango juice, please. Okay, on with the story. I've now got that out of the way. I've now got it off my chest. And so, this storyteller, he said, I was up in the tree and I ate mango till my belly was full up. And I was feeling so full up and tired that I didn't know how I was going to get down. And I sat there for ages. And then I came up with an idea. I went to the next village, got a ladder, put it up next to the tree, and came down. And that is how I got home. If it was not for that ladder, I wouldn't have been able to come down and go home that day. Story. They looked at the traveler. There was no doubt on his face. Hey, are you not still with me? Are you still with me? I just need to check. Okay, you're still with me. Well, storyteller number 3 came up. Okay, this traveler, he thinks he is something. Story. This one now, he said, you see me. There was once a time I went into the bush. I was hunting for a rabbit. I caught the rabbit only to discover that it was not a rabbit, that it was the tiger. Hey! And the tiger looked at me and I was begging for my dear life. I was begging. I said, please, I thought you were a rabbit. I'm sorry. I did not mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Please. And then I heard the tiger speak and the tiger called me a fool. Well, some people have trigger words. Hey, my trigger word is fool. And so I snapped. And you know what I did? Sorry for vegetarians and animal lovers. Don't worry, it's just a story. So you know what I did? I broke the tiger in half. And then I realized I was still hungry. So I continued walking, looking for my rabbits. Hey, they looked at the traveler. There was no doubt on his face. Hey, now they only had one more storyteller left. Now these guys were sweating. Hey, these young men, they were sweating because they didn't know. They looked at him, they said, hey, you better tell a powerful story. And so, storyteller number 4 stepped up. Story. He said, me. One day, I was walking and I saw a snail. And the snail was going to cross the road. This snail took 7 years just to cross the road. Yes, I stood there and I watched for 7 years because I was curious. And the snail got to the other side. Just as it got to the other side, hey, well, this huge, massive tree fell down, landed, boing, and it just missed the snail. Well, the snail turned around to look at the fallen tree. Just to turn around, it took the snail 2 weeks. And he looked at the tree and he said, phew, it sure is good to be fast. They looked at the traveler. There was no doubt on his face. Well, it was now the traveler's turn. Story.
Story.
I have traveled from far, far, far away. You see, I have been looking for something. You see, where I live, I had a special plant. This plant is like no other plant. This plant has no leaf, but it did have 4 branches. And when those branches grew, all of a sudden I began to see what I thought was a fruit. All of a sudden, 4 of them popped up. And I cut them, and you won't believe it, out fell 4 people. Well, I couldn't believe it. 4 people fell out. And you know, these 4 people, well, if we're all living together, I mean, this plant is in my garden. So when they came, you know what that means? We are all together. And so when I would ask them to do chores, when I would ask them to do work, they didn't want to do none of that. Instead, they just wanted to sit down all day telling nonsense stories all day long. And then one day I woke up to find out that they had run away. And ever since then, I have been traveling and looking for these 4 young men. And today, I have come. Grab your things. Let us go. Well, these 4 young men, they stood there. They didn't know what to do with themselves. If they say that the storyteller, this traveler, is telling the truth, they lose. If they say he is telling a lie, they lose. And it was decided by the shop owner, you foolish 4 boys, you have lost to the traveler. And of course, the traveler won. And he said, since this is what you like to do, all of you, take off all of your clothes, give them to me, and I will give you your freedom. And so they stripped all their clothes off, and he put them in a bundle with their jewelry, and off the traveler went. Story. Thank you all very, 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 very much. How are you all feeling?
Good. Thank you, Ali.
Beautiful. All right, Al, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Let's get into this.
Wait, Alim, tell me, where did it start? How did you get into storytelling?
So I was born in the UK, went to live back home in Sierra Leone, and I grew up in a village called Binti in the North Province. And my uncle says it's not a village, it's a city. He doesn't like when I And we would have storytellers come and share stories with us. And these storytellers would be known, a lot of people know them as griots. Griot is actually a French word. The word that is often used in West Africa is jale. So from there, I realized that was the one time that I could stay still, that they could keep me in my seat. Aside from that, I would just be a runaround terror. But storytelling kept me pinned. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I wanted to discuss the story with my friends and my family as we would walk home. And then when I traveled back to the UK, there were no more storytellers. But my cousin introduced me to hip hop, to rap, and I fell in love with this evolved style of storytelling. And that's when I was like, all right, I may not have the campfire setting, but now I have light bulb and the music is coming through the speakers, and I'm still getting the street journalism just in a different format. And I fell in love with hip hop. And that's how my journey began.
That's amazing. And where do you find these stories from? How do you search for them? Where do you?
Well, like I told you, and I told the people, I am a hunter. So just to talk a bit more about, so I've talked about hip hop. When I went to university, in my third year, my lecturer knew that I was a performer, and she suggested that I do a storytelling module. I didn't even know that type of thing existed. And so I went to do the storytelling module. Lo and behold, my teacher at the time is a massive storyteller in the UK known as Sally Pom Clayton. And she asked us to tell a story from our tradition. And I chose a character, trickster, by the name of Anansi. For those of you who don't know, Anansi is the half spider, half man. He's the original Spider-Man, not this nonsense Peter Parker. Yeah? And Anansi was a character who we listened to so much, or some people know him as Brass Spider, who would teach so many powerful lessons. And I came to university dressed in cloth. So all I had on literally was my boxer shorts and my cloth, and wrapped around me like an African king. That's how I came to deliver the story. And I remember being super nervous and uncomfortable because I wasn't used to this style of dressing. And it was almost like alien to me. But the warmth and love that I felt in the room was where I began to say, actually, you know what? This is something that I could pursue. And so when it came to the stories, I started speaking to my mum. And I was like, do you know any stories? She was like, of course. And I said, why have you never told me? And then I started calling my uncles, my aunties, and since I've gone back to Binti as well. And obviously we have the internet, we have books, Amazon, but the most beautiful, powerful ones I would definitely say are from my family members, which I was quite upset because none of my cousins ever get told stories. And so now my mission is to encourage people to share stories because it's such a powerful way of communication.
So you're getting a lot of love in the comment section from all the way across Cluj and Cardiff and all across the world. Tel Aviv is here as well. What do you think is about storytelling that brings people together or can connect across different places? Because you've been to Mexico and South America and all these places. How do stories bridge that gap?
So storytelling gave me the confidence to believe in myself, to accept myself. And what I noticed with storytelling is like, it's almost like social media, but an ancient social media, if that makes sense. So the reason why apparently we flick through Instagram, Facebook, is because there are moments of we don't know what's going to happen. There are changes, there's suspension, there's different things happening at different times and different moments. And one of the things when they studied storytelling, they actually found that it was the most powerful form of teaching. It is something that improves creativity. It is something that bonds people together because we're all sitting down in one room listening to the story. I tell people storytelling is, the children, especially when I go into the schools, I tell them storytelling is all about the lips. And they go, the lips? I say, yes, it's all about the lips. And they say, what's the lips? And I tell them it's an acronym. So if you got a pen and paper, get ready. I'm about to tell you what performance storytelling is all about. Storytelling, the L in storytelling. You have to learn to listen. And I get them to do their hands on their ears. So, Al, you got to join me. You got to join me. Yeah, rush me. I'm not seeing you move. Yeah, yeah, you got to. So it's all about listening. Yeah. And when you listen, you get to capture the moment. You get to learn from the story. So that's the L, listen. And then the I, which, it hurts me to share the I, because I realize we now have to give young people the permission to imagine. So I say to them, we're going to imagine. Imagination means your donkey can be purple, it can be red, it can be green. Your car can fly. You know, the storyteller can be a giant or it can be this small. Because when I've gone to do storytelling in the past, I say there was a wooden baby. A wooden baby? But that's not possible. So I realized, like, oh my goodness me, we're shutting down the imagination of our children. And storytelling is something that helps to revive that and keep it alive. So the L is listen. And the I is imagine. Yeah. So everybody, let me see. Imagine. It's got to be big. Yeah. Giving you that permission to imagine. Go wherever you want to go with the story. So you got to listen, imagine, and then, even though I'm doing digital now, I urge people to participate. Yeah, I urge people to participate. Going into schools and having young people with all types of needs, yeah, coming up on stage and participating and getting involved, the children start looking at them in a different way. They're like, oh my goodness, you who are usually so quiet, we've never seen you dance, we've never seen you sing, we've never seen you get, or we rarely see these things, but you've come alive. So going into schools, I've seen young people who teachers have called stubborn, lacking focus, participate and do so well on the stage. So we got listen, we got imagine, we got participate, and one of the things I love, which is what Creative Mornings is doing, share. Yeah, I tell the young people, make sure you share the stories. Make sure you share the lessons from the stories. Make sure you share and care for one another. So sharing, I tell them share. So let's go from the top. So we got listen, we got imagine, we got participate, and we got share.
Amazing. And I'm curious to learn, how has your storytelling changed over the years, but also more recently, now that we're moving into more digital, virtual things?
So remember I said to you that when I came over, I got into rap. So when I first got into storytelling, I would memorize the stories line for line up to the full stop, because I was now used to rapping. So rapping is it's a particular order. There are lines and then there were 16 bars, that make a verse. So I'm like, this is the method that I know how to tell stories. And so I would I wouldn't miss a word. If there was the A or an and, it would have to be there. And it felt as if I didn't put that word there, it's like I'd forgotten my lyrics. And so that's how I initially, and then one day a storyteller who was well established, Ben Haggarth, he saw me, he's like, storytelling is not like written poetry. It's something which people shouldn't be able to predict your moves. They shouldn't always see you coming. They shouldn't always know what's about to happen next. You have to be able to work with the room, work with the crowd, work with what's happening around you. And so to be able to do that and then take that into school, you get to then connect. Now, digitally now has been probably the most challenging aspect, because storytelling is about that bonding. It's about that connection with people, which can still happen. But when you're in a room laughing with 200 children at you being on stage, it is the best thing. I'm like, I've given them permission to laugh at me. and have fun and be free. And here I am standing and being confident in who I am and teaching them about my history and my culture. And for me, that then gives them the permission to be themselves.
Right. And I think you've worked a lot with kids who hopefully get, you know, a lot of stories. What would you recommend for sort of us who are no longer kids, sadly, to incorporate more stories or find stories or enjoy them more?
Al, did you just say you're no longer a kid?
No.
Oh my goodness me. Al, what are you doing? What are you doing? No. You see, when I tell stories, I don't tell stories to adults because adults are boring. What I do is I appeal to the child in you. That child is who I appeal to, because when I appeal to that child, guess what? I'm saying, hey, listen, this is freedom. You don't care right now. You're just going to jump in, get involved, and have fun. So all it is for me, when I'm on stage, I can't tell this story as this adult, because guess what? I'm going to be like, once upon a time, there was a man. And I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me. And that's not to say that that style of storytelling is anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, as me, as a performance storyteller, this is my style. Everybody has their own style. Like, I know storytellers that stand on one spot and don't move and command the room. But one of the things I encourage is, I say to people, jump on Amazon, buy a storytelling book, but also speak to elders and find out from elders if they know any stories. And you'd find that you're so surprised. And even if they can't tell you all of the story, because this has happened to me where somebody hasn't been able to tell, my auntie wasn't able to tell me all of the story, but what she told me, I was able to go on Google and type keywords and I found the story. And it was an Anansi story. Just because of the key words that she used, I was able to find it. And I was like, Auntie, is this the story? She's like, oh my gosh, it's the story. So I would say, please speak to the elders and find out from them. Speak to friends. And also, remember that you are actually already a storyteller. Like, have you ever gone to a friend, guess what? And they go, what? Yo, the way, by the volume and the energy you say, guess what? They know something magical is about to happen. They know that gossip, and storytellers are gossips. That's yeah. They know that gossip, that juicy gossip is about to land. That story, oh, you won't believe what happened. And they know something magical is about to happen. They're not in the scene, but they're about to, or you're about to paint a picture for that person. So I was walking down the road. Oh, and all of a sudden, yeah. Come on. You won't believe it. And you get up and you walk around and you're like, what is it? Come on. That's storytelling right there.